Imagine a palace filled with gold, silk, and royal guards. A place where servants obey every command, where music echoes through marble halls, and where the ruler of one of the world's greatest empires lives. Now imagine living inside that palace, but knowing your entire future depends on one thing alone. Not love, not beauty, not loyalty, only whether you can give birth to a son. Because inside the Ottoman Empire, producing an heir didn't just bring honor. It could decide whether a woman gained power, protection, and influence, or faded into silence forever. To understand why, we have to step inside the hidden world of the imperial palace. Most people imagine the Ottoman harem as a place of luxury or romance. But in reality, it was one of the most important political institutions in the empire. Located deep inside the imperial complex of Topkapi Palace, the harem functioned less like a royal residence, and more like a carefully organized system. Hundreds of women lived there. Concubines, servants, teachers, royal children, and powerful court officials all shared this enclosed world. Many of these women were not born into wealth or nobility. They came from distant regions, Eastern Europe, the Caucasus, Central Asia, and beyond. Some were gifted to the court. Some arrived through political arrangements. Others came from lands conquered by the empire. But once they entered the palace, their old lives disappeared. They received new names, new education, new roles. Because the palace wasn't simply housing them, it was preparing them to become mothers of future rulers. Inside the harem, life followed strict rules. Young women were taught language, religion, etiquette, music, poetry, and palace discipline. They learned how to speak formally, how to move gracefully, and how to behave in the presence of royalty. This training wasn't meant to create companions. It was meant to create women capable of raising princes. Because the Ottoman dynasty depended on strong heirs, and the palace needed mothers who could shape them. But not every woman would be chosen for that role. Only a few would ever meet the Sultan. The Sultan rarely visited the inner chambers personally, but when he did, everything changed. If he noticed one woman, her status could rise overnight. Servants began treating her differently. Supervisors kept records of her name. The palace hierarchy adjusted around her presence. But the Sultan's attention wasn't the real prize. Motherhood was. Because if she gave birth to a son, her entire destiny would shift. In many monarchies, the throne passes automatically to the eldest child. But the Ottoman system worked differently. Any prince could become the next sultan. This meant every boy born into the dynasty was a potential future ruler. And naturally, the mother of that prince gained importance. When a woman gave birth to a son, her rank increased immediately. She received better quarters, personal servants, and stronger protection. But more importantly, she gained political relevance. Because from that moment on, her future was tied directly to the empire's future. The mother of a prince wasn't just raising a child, she was raising a possible sultan. As the boy grew, his education became critical. He learned administration, military leadership, law, and religion. And throughout this process, his mother often remained one of his closest influences. When princes reached adolescence, they were sent to govern provinces. This wasn't exile, it was training for rule, and their mothers usually went with them. If the prince governed well, his reputation grew, and with it, his mother's influence. If he later became sultan, she could become one of the most powerful individuals in the empire. Some mothers advised rulers, influenced court decisions, and shaped state policy. This period of strong maternal influence is sometimes referred to by historians as the Sultanate of Women. But this power came with enormous risk. The Ottoman Empire faced a constant problem: how to prevent civil war between rival princes. Earlier in its history, battles between brothers often caused chaos and instability. To avoid this, a harsh rule developed. When a new sultan took the throne, his brothers were often removed as rivals. This policy was meant to protect the empire from division. But it created a terrifying reality inside the palace. Because every prince represented both hope and danger, and every mother knew that her son's future might determine her own survival. This reality turned the harem into a world of quiet tension. From the outside, it looked peaceful. Decorated rooms, gardens, fountains, and music. But beneath that beauty lived constant uncertainty. Each mother hoped her son would succeed. Each watched the others carefully. Each understood that one change in power could reshape their lives. Alliances formed silently. Reputations mattered. And every birth carried political consequences. Because inside the palace, lineage meant everything. For women who never produced a prince, life followed a different path. Without a son, their political importance declined. Some were married off to trusted officials, giving them respectable lives outside the palace. Others were assigned quieter roles within the royal household. Many were moved to the old palace, where former concubines lived away from the center of power. They weren't always punished, but their opportunity to shape history was over. In a system built around heirs, not producing one meant gradually becoming invisible. To modern audiences, this system may sound harsh, but for the Ottomans, it served a purpose. The empire stretched across continents. It needed strong rulers, stable succession, and disciplined royal upbringing. By tying women's status to motherhood, the palace ensured that raising princes became a serious responsibility. The harem wasn't just a residence. It was part of the state's political structure. Every birth affected the balance of power, and every mother understood the stakes. Behind the politics were real lives. Young women who left their homes forever. Mothers who feared for their sons. Families formed inside palace walls. Some women rose to extraordinary power. Others lived quietly, forgotten by history, but all of them lived under the same rule. Their future depended on forces they couldn't fully control. Because inside the Ottoman palace, a single birth could change everything. Today, the Ottoman Empire exists only in history books. Its palaces have become museums. Its rulers part of the past. But the stories of the women inside its harem still reveal something important. From the outside, the palace looked like a place of luxury and privilege. But inside, it functioned as a political machine. A woman's future depended on whether she could give birth to a son. That son could bring her influence, security, and lasting legacy. Or without one, she might fade quietly from power and memory. Because in the Ottoman world, motherhood wasn't just personal, it was political, and sometimes, it meant the difference between power and disappearance.